Hi, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Derek Pernesiglio Show. Everybody knows who I am, but the guest is the most important part of the show, and we have Mamba Smith joining us from Backseat Drivers. He's also one of the hosts of Mamba and the Mayor, and one of your podcasts as well. And I think they were calling you a Renaissance man this past weekend on the ARCA races, because you've done everything: driving, media, what else? Color commentary.
Yeah.
What haven't you done?
I haven't. The only thing I haven't done is been in the tower to do race control. I think that's the only thing I've spotted. Been a crew member, and I don't even want to. I wouldn't want to be an official. That's a lot of headache that I don't want.
It's the other side of the fence.
Yeah, I don't want to. I see it,
right?
And I see how much work they do. Jason Hamilton does a great job with race control week in, week out, but I don't want his job. He can have it.
It's tough being in that world. You're absolutely right. I know what you mean, because when doing what I do with the reporting, and then just now doing PR for Mountain Creek Speedway, because I do their PR and their promotions and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You're on the other side of the fence, so you are also, now you're in that complaint department.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the harder things to deal with.
Dude, I'm right there with you. Mamba Media, we do the digital strategy for Cars Tour now. Carson Elledge is doing a great job taking care of that for us, and it's just every little thing you're getting so much information, and you want to fix everything, but it's very hard to fix every little thing that everyone wants fixed.
Now, tell us about Mamba Media. Give the viewers and the listeners an idea of what that is, because you just recently started that.
Yeah,
right?
We started that last year. It was a necessity out of COVID. I had no aspirations to starting a media company. And what happened was during COVID, I started doing a show for the RTA and Racing America, kind of before it was Racing America, called the Racing Fan Zone. Mm-hmm. So we had this show that I would host, and we bring on industry personalities, not just drivers, but also owners and crew members from all different levels, and media personality, and just everybody. And I'd talk to them for 10, 15 minutes, and tell some stories, have some laughs. And it was very much like this show. I didn't care about, all right, man, how's your car down in turn 1 and 2? I don't care about that. I want to know where you want to go partying after. Where are we drinking beer after you win this thing? Or give me those stories, right? And it was great. But what I realized was, even though we had all that backing and support, one show by itself wasn't going to be enough. It would fizzle out by itself. So found a way to build a network. So we got TobyChristie.com, and Toby is now a part of Mamba Media. And so TobyChristie.com is one of the best news outlets. I mean, I'm gonna say it. I think it's one of the best news outlets for motorsports out there. They do a great job.
He writes for you?
Yeah, so he writes. He's the editor and the founder of Toby Christie, and we have Joseph Stringley, who lives up in Canada actually, and he does all the stats. He's new age Bob Pockris. The stats that Joseph comes up with are out of control. Joey Barnes is writing for us on IndyCar. We're trying to look at getting into NHRA more, and obviously short track. Want to be able to fill that, because I just feel like it's missing that really, really good journalism. It's hard to get that sometimes, I feel like, in short track.
So are you trying to get into that speed sport, Racing America type of realm?
Not. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna say no. It's kind of open. It's open ended. We're just trying to bring the stories out that people don't talk about and that don't get enough attention. So we were talking off air about a Brad Perez. Well, this 1,800 Brad Perez stories of guys or girls that are trying to grind their way and wanted to be drivers. Now they're crew members, but maybe they get to drive here or there. But just telling those stories, those are the important stories. Mm-hmm. We're always going to be driver face forward, but there's only 120 of them that can do it in a weekend, and not even that, because guys go from series to series, right? So there's only 100 plus people that are going to drive. There's thousands of people that are in the industry working on. If there's a job outside of the industry, we also have it in it. Mm-hmm. Right, so we need to show those stories, so people from the outside are oh, well, I love being an engineer. I can go be an engineer in NASCAR. Well, that's cool. come and do that. Like, so trying to get those stories out is super important.
Yeah, no, it's so funny too because over the years I've tried to convince people or show them that I don't just show up at the track and talk into a microphone. There's preparation that's involved. There's talking to people. Dude. There's hours of notes. You
guys, I've done a little bit of pit road reporting, and like the effort that the good ones like yourself put in, like.
Thank you.
Like when I did it a little bit, it wasn't so much like, because I did it for the U.S. Short Track Nationals in Bristol, right? And I did it at Nashville one time, and that's a little different setting. Like, you're not necessarily going around and there's so much stuff going on that you're kind of just calling it as you see it, and that part was cool because like I can call it as I see it. I know what they're working on there. Like, I don't need to speculate. I know exactly what. The water's running out of the radiator. The thing's busted, right? So, but like with that, there's so many people, and if you can get a little story, like, so I would go up to the crew chief. Hey man, like, see you guys moving to the front. What's he saying? Like, what? And they would give you a little bit. Versus you guys would do so much pre-work and have all these papers, and I'm like, dude, I respect that part of the job.
You gotta have a nugget of information on everybody because you never know at one point in the race where that person is going to become a factor, whether they are winning the race or if they fall out or if they're in a crash. You gotta have at least one topic to talk about for everybody, because if they go to them, you gotta have something on them.
You can't be dead. You can't have nothing. You gotta have something, and you guys do a great job. I know you guys are always running around up and down the pit road.
The calling it like you see it is the easy part.
That's the easy part.
It's when you have to set up like an intro or do your whip right before you go green, and you got to get it right because you got one more pace lap. Right,
dude. So my stand-ups, I'll never forget the first time I went to do stuff with what is Racing America now. My stand-up, I think it took like 20 takes.
Happens to all of us,
dude. And I was like, whatever, like, I'm just gonna have to keep fighting through this to get it right, because it has to sound right, and you got to bridge it with it's got to be the right content, because whatever the overlay video has to go with whatever you're saying, whatever you're talking about. So that stuff, it's an art. It's definitely an art.
It's hard to do, but you know what though? The funny thing is you're proving that you can do. You're proving to be a jack of all trades in this business, because you can work on the cars. You've driven. I mean, you ran ARCA this past weekend. You've done the media. You've written, and you're also on social media with your motivational videos too. Because, I mean, that's some of the other things that I actually gravitated to you with, is that you are one of these guys that always tries to find the good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think positive mental attitude is like vastly undervalued. Like, and it's hard, right? Because social media, you jump on any social media platform and it looks like everyone around you is always doing so great and always just, pushing to the limits, and it looks great and they're having so much fun, and FOMO is now this big thing. But like, realistically, like, that's probably not how their life really is. Like, everyone goes through it. We all have struggles. I just have decided to be more open about my struggles, the things that I need to help myself with. And so, GDTBA, like Great Day to Be Alive, is on all of my stuff when I have any video, anything good or bad that happens, right? But like, I think that it's important for people to know that it's okay to not be okay. But it's not okay to stop moving forward. You got to keep pushing forward and helping. I do it myself, and I went from myself to like, oh, maybe I'll put this out there. If I help one other person with this quote or with this story, that's worth it. And it turned out it helps a lot of people, which is super awesome.
Do you think as you just come out and say, do you get depression?
No, I don't get depressed. I'm very happy and very. I love life. I get annoyed with stuff and then I get angry with things. I'm like, why is this not happening? Like, why is this part of this part of my life is great? Like, for instance, I've had the best 2 years of my life. Like, career wise, I'm making the most money I've ever made in my life. I have the best jobs of all time that I could ever ask. I just got to go race at the highest level that I've ever raced at on national TV, and my friends and family from back home in Vermont got to watch and be a part of that. Like, that's all great. There's nothing bad in my life. The worst thing in my life is trying to find a relationship, trying to find a partner. Like, and that's the worst thing. Like, so it's really not that bad.
Right.
But like, you look at all the things, it's like, how is all this great? But this thing is so annoyingly, and it just is what it, like, I get annoyed with it.
Right.
Because like, no one wants to be by themselves all the time. Like, that stuff is boring, right? But like, you know, it's part of the ride. Just gotta ride it out.
Yeah, but you know what though, you have that personality and all those things going on where, you know, someone's gonna gravitate towards you.
Yeah,
you know,
like, it's fine. Like, you know, we're dating in 2022 is a very strange place.
Oh.
It's a very strange place.
I just got engaged recently, so I get it, because I see my other friends where they talk about the relationship issues that they have, and I sit there and I'm like, thank God I'm with my girlfriend slash fiance.
Yeah, congratulations. I want to be sitting where you're sitting. Like, I was telling somebody the other day, I said,
I found a good one.
I thought, I was like, man, I thought, you know, you get a good job, you treat people right, you know, you keep moving forward, you do adult men stuff, and then it just happened. You know, people grab. A lot of these people, they like the fake stuff. Like, they like to see what you have to offer. Mm-hmm. That is like external.
Well, a lot. I think the social media and the electronic age of that has come into play too. Where you know, like the Tinder is swipe right, swipe left, and it
instant gratification.
It doesn't go any further than that. I know. And it's filled with fake profiles,
right?
So you don't even know who you're talking to and all of that. I get it, you know, I met my girlfriend slash fiance in a Starbucks. You know,
that's the way to do it.
We were waiting online.
Kids, that's the way to do
it. I know it's crazy, but yeah. But you know what though, you never get every aspect perfect.
No,
you know,
no, and it's not, no matter how bad stuff is with anything, right? Mm-hmm. Like I say, that's the only thing I'm like annoyed about in my life. But no matter how bad stuff, it's not that bad. Like, we compound most things, right? There are tragic things that happen in everybody's life. We all go through those things. But on your day to day, when you're like, oh man, today sucks. Well, why does today suck? Well, this one person said this one thing, and don't let someone's 2 cents ruin your $1 million mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like it's just not that bad. So keeping your energy, protecting your energy and your own mental health is something that I work on, and it's super important.
Well, one of the things too that people have been stressing to me in the last couple of months, especially with what has happened to me even just the last 6 months, with my mom dying, my house burning to the ground, I lost one of my businesses. Yep. You know, all of those things happened within like a 6-month period. One of the things is that they always kept saying was to, number one, find the good in things, and the other thing too is you can't affect, you can only react to, you can only control you. You can't control what is around you. So you can only react to, you know, you can only react to what you react to. Yep. You know, if you react to what someone else says, you know, then they won.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where they got you fired up, and if you are easily fired up, then maybe you can be easily manipulated.
Right. It starts going the wrong way. Like, so we talk about social media. On mine, you know, I get a lot of different things.
Oh, dude, I can only imagine, because I've gotten hammered on social media, and in the last couple of years with, you know, the whole Bubba stuff, and I know you stuck up for him, I stuck up for him, I took a lot of crap for it. The things that were going on in the world, you know, and there was a lot of times where you were going on with your social media videos, and people were just hammering you.
They just,
and nasty stuff. It's
so crazy. It's so crazy. And like recently, like literally this past week, I realized something too. Is like, so there was this guy that posted a video of me and Raja Caruth racing at IRP, and he's about in tears posting this video. He's like, He's like, I never, as a black man, as an 11-year-old, I never would have thought that I would ever see two African Americans, people of color racing on the same track at NASCAR, like all this stuff. That resonated with him. That changed that dude's life. That was like, it was like, oh my God, like I can hold that. I can grasp that, right? Like at 40, whatever years old he is. That video just happened to go off during the race. So many people interacted with it. It was super cool. So I was reading the comments, which something you should probably not do, but like I like to know where the state of the world is and what society is. And you got to read those comments to kind of know, to understand where we're at. Are we making gains or not? Literally 95% of it was so positive and everything. But then there was another 5%, which is always a 5% of assholes. There's a 5% of people that were going in on this guy, calling him a racist. Being like, it's not about race. It's not, like, first off, it's not for you to change how this event affects this person.
Right. You can't tell somebody they can't feel that way.
You can't tell him that he shouldn't feel good as a person of color seeing two people of color racing on a national stage.
Right. I understand.
Right? So and it's so crazy to me that people want to dive off and tell people how they should feel or how they shouldn't feel. He didn't ask for their opinion.
Right.
That's the thing about social media, which is weird, right? Because it is an open forum. So like whenever you put something out, you open yourself up for anything.
Especially an opinion.
Right.
It's because especially, nowadays, if you post an opinion, you leave yourself open to get hit from every direction, because opinions can be argued.
Yeah.
Then
it's not fact. It's how you feel.
Right. How you can put up your feelings, and people can argue over their opinion of your feelings, right. But it's still a feeling.
Right. And no one should be able to tell you how you feel about something is wrong, but that doesn't mean how you're feeling about it is a fact.
It's I've said this on the show before too, and social media is a knife, and I heard that from Dr. Dre, of all people, who said that. So Ice Cube, he said social media is a knife in the sense that you could use a knife as a weapon or a tool. Yeah. And as great as social media is too, there are so many times where I want to take this laptop and just chuck it across the room.
It's 100%, and so. I DM'd that guy, and I was like, hey man, like, thank you so much for your kind words, and it means so much to me that this means so much to you, because my journey to getting to this point in my entire life and all the sacrifice my parents made and I made to get here means a ton. So the fact that that's affecting you in that way, nothing but love and appreciation for that. But then on the flip side is there was a guy, NASCAR Roots tweeted or posted a video of me showing off this badass helmet that Off Axis and Noel painted of Kobe Bryant. There's a Kobe Bryant tribute, and on one side it's Kobe. You can literally see the beads of sweat on his forehead. It was so great. The other side is like a black mamba snake. And so I'm like showing it off or whatever, and someone on the comments was like, why don't you take that stuff, take yourself back to the NFL, the NBA, da-da-da. And I'm like, bro, like, I don't mind talking to these people. Right. Because like, I'll give you enough rope to where, like,
you want to hang yourself.
Yeah, you do it to yourself, right? and I'm like, I'm pretty calm about it. I'm like, so I haven't checked it, but I was like, man, like, what's the issue? Why are you mad, bro? Like, I love racing,
and then they're
too.
shocked because this guy actually contacted me directly.
That's the part. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part. And like, a lot of our friends that are in the industry and the drivers that get all this stuff, like, they don't want to deal with that, right? But I got time. I got time to deal with it. I might be at the house 3-4 Trulies in, and I'm like,
Trulies?
Yeah, I love Trulies. And I look at this thing and I'm like, you know what? I don't like what you said. Bop, 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 bop. Let's go. I got time for it. And people are like, why do you give these people the time of day? And I'm like, because the people that are my supporters, they love who I am as a person, and I appreciate that. But they would never think that I would get hate or get someone talk to me like that. So I put it out in front of you to let everyone know that it doesn't matter how good of a person you are, you try to be, there's always somebody that's going to be trying to knock that down.
There's always a hater.
There's always a hater.
Oh my
And
God.
it's important for everyone to see that, because it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Like, life is life.
Right.
You know? So
someone said to me a long time ago, you have to love your haters because they think you're better than them.
Listen, I love them. They fuel me up.
You know what, though? I bet you
up.
have probably gotten people who have hated on you, and you've contacted them, and they've become your fan now.
Oh, dude, I know for a fact that when I started at Rev Racing, when I started sweeping the floors, I couldn't even read a tape measure. Like, I could read the big line, the half-inch line, about the quarter-inch line.
Well, you came to Rev to drive, though, didn't you?
I came to Rev to work on the car. I went to the diversity program, the combine, to compete for a spot. I didn't get picked.
Okay.
The first and the second year they offered me a job. The second year I took the job. Andy Santerra, after the first year, was like, well, do you want to race? You want to be a mechanic? I was like, I want to race. He's like, well, you better go race. So I went back to Thunder Road, had a better year.
What'd you run there?
Late models.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran go-karts, and then went from go-karts to Allison Legacy cars.
Okay.
Won a championship in Allison Legacy cars, and when I was 16, I went and drove for Pete Fecto. So, like, nobody had seen that path up there before. So I was 16 years old doing something that the only person they've seen do it is Joey Pole, right?
Right.
But I didn't have near Joey Pole funding to do that. So we got there, and I ran okay. Won a couple heats. We podiumed like once, had some good runs.
With the
like,
late model.
With the late model.
Okay.
Yeah. But those boys, but I owe them guys that I raced with why I am the driver I am now, because they were not easy to race with. They are hard-nosed racers up there. And
they take their late model racing seriously.
Hell
up there, Thunder
yeah.
Road. That was just at Thunder Road that you raced at?
Yeah, like week in and week out on Thursday nights, Thunder Road, and then I did a race at Airborne, and I did one race at like Claremont.
You ever do Beach Ridge or Oxford Plains or anything?
No, we stayed right there in Vermont in that area.
Okay.
And we went to Oxford, but we didn't race. We just went to watch. So
okay.
Yeah, so like, I moved down and started sweeping floors, and then like became a mechanic, and then this, that, and the other. So I've been, through every part of it.
Right,
so,
you were pretty much there when Bubba was coming through the...
Me and Bubba,
Right.
So when me and Bubba were both on changing lanes together.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I liked that show, actually.
That show was fun. I'm not going to lie.
Fun.
I enjoyed being on it. I knew very quickly, though, that I was going to be the guy that they made everyone love, that everyone was going to like, and then wasn't going to make it. Right. There's always that one character to be like, oh man, we love that guy. I realized that they were setting me up for that.
It's a reality show, and they have to have certain characters. They gotta have, the good guy. They gotta have the bad guy. They gotta have. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I get it.
It was that part. It was a great experience, and that was my first experience into like real level NASCAR stuff, being around the shops and being around everything. So. Yeah, man, it's been a journey though. It's been super fun. Bubba actually gave me my late model down here that I ran in 2014. Me and Danny Johnson. It was just me and him, and we got up to 38th in the nation before we stopped running. Bubba actually gave me that car like 2 years before.
That was a late model stock?
It was a late model stock, yeah.
Where were you running that?
We ran that at Hickory, and then Greenville and Anderson.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you did get to run some full seasons down here.
I ran one full season in late models, and it was really not even a full season. It was we probably ran, I don't know, maybe 18 races. We started late and ended early. Okay. Because we felt like we were situated really well to go to the diversity program the next year. So we were in a point where we could sell the car we had and then buy a new one, and then we were gonna run for regional points, because the diversity program I was gonna run, if I made it, which I ended up making it the next year in 15, run a full season with them on Saturdays mainly at Hickory. We were gonna build the other car and run Friday nights and run when they didn't run. So I was gonna do a full season. So, and it just didn't quite work out that way.
Do you think that you even up to this point, that you haven't gotten enough track time in your career? And
I was doing the math the other day. I think I have a total of I think it's under 50 big car starts.
Really? Wow, no kidding.
Under,
and you went and ran ARCA this past weekend.
Yeah, under 50 big track starts, and I made the Myrtle Beach 400. Mm-hmm. Basically, crew chiefed it myself. Bobby Gill set it up. That thing was on kill. It was so good. That car was so good. We got ran over by I usually remember his name because I still owe him one. But we got ran over.
We never forget those, right?
If any other time I remember his name, but I got ran over by some kid, and then wanted to try the Snowflake because I love Snowball Derby week.
Right. Yeah, that was like a whole collaboration.
Oh, Ryan Millington. That was his name.
Oh yeah,
Ryan Millington ran me over. Ryan,
Oh.
I still owe you one. So then we went and do the Snowflake. Made that the first and the second year. We missed it this past year. And
you were driving for someone though, right?
Yeah. I don't.
Whose Pro Late model were you running?
Brian Rogers from Circle Track Warehouse. I drove his car the first year and last year, and then it was super cool. The year before last, which would have been 2020.
But didn't you have like some
Lee
NASCAR
Falk.
guys that like helped support you on that deal?
Oh yeah.
Who was it?
Listen, the Myrtle Beach car and all the Snowflakes cars, I've always had some of my buddies in NASCAR help me out, especially even the ARCA car, right? So the Myrtle Beach car, Tony helped me out.
Tony
Smoke
who?
Stewart.
Tony Stewart. Okay.
Kevin Harvick helped me out on that one. And I think on that one that was really it. Those two guys helped me out on that one. And then on the Snowflake car the first time, Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney both helped me out on that one. Mm-hmm. I put Ryan's Glass Case Emotion podcast on the hood. And then I did Lewis Hamilton. I just won another F1 title, so I did like a Lewis Hamilton kind of tribute scheme, and I put Bubba's face of like a reaction. It was like a random picture, 2 random pictures I slapped on the side of that thing.
Do you ever hear from some of those pioneer drivers, obviously Bubba?
Yeah.
But have you ever like heard from Lewis Hamilton about?
I've never talked to Lewis. I mean, he's like pretty far out of my scope, I feel like. But like all the NASCAR people, like all the NASCAR drivers, like I'm friends with. Like I grew up with most of them at this point. Mm-hmm. And the older guys, like I've been to Saeed's with them, been to Tony Stewart's Halloween parties, and working at Stuart Haas. Like
some of your costumes at the Halloween parties were hysterical. You came dressed as Catwoman one year, laughed my ass off.
That year.
What was some of the other ones?
So I did Catwoman. That one went viral.
Great.
That one was pretty serious.
That was hysterical.
And mind you, I had to do that because the year before I did Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna win. I'm like, oh, I got this. Mm-hmm. Tony came out as a hula girl.
That's right. I remember. The Chiquita Banana Girl.
Yeah.
Or something like.
So he So I'm like, bro, you set the bar. So when I showed up the next year, I was not messing around.
Did you win it?
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. Hell yeah. I did. I came in as Halle Berry's version of.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, that was like full on cosplay.
It was straight up. I had like I think Amber Balkan gave me a bra to wear. It was like a $800 bra. I'm like, she's like, don't mess this thing up. And I'm like, why are you giving it to me? All I'm gonna do is get hammered
and party in it.
And so I had lipstick on. Someone else gave me heels, which is hard to find, like heels for like men's feet. They're a little bigger. So that was a struggle. But we went all in.
Plus walking in them, I can imagine.
All night. Leather pants.
Did you really wear heels all night?
All night.
How did you not twist an ankle?
Because I'm an athlete. I'm an athlete. Ain't nothing. We did that. I did one there. I did Jamie Foxx's Django from Django Unchained.
Okay.
I did Frozone from.
That was funny. I remember that one. That was pretty good.
That one. I did Black Panther one year, and I was in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And I knew that it was during like the week before Halloween, right? So everyone's partying 2 weeks for Halloween. Go to this big Halloween party in Tampa. It was called like 13 Ugly Men or something. It was great. It was probably one of the best parties I've ever been to. But I got in a tree. I crawled into a tree as a Black Panther and like took like a picture and people
action shots.
Dude, no one had a Black Panther costume, so I was walking through. This is after the movie came out, bro. Everyone was so high. I felt like I was the king.
You felt like you were. Yeah.
I was the king of Wakanda. I was T'Challa. It was awesome.
That's great.
This year, I don't know what I'm gonna do this year. Maybe Static Shock. That's another superhero.
Does Tony still have the Halloween parties here?
So no. So this is what happened with the Halloween parties. So Tony stopped doing the Halloween parties. I think it's like 2016. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, we can't let these die. Like, there's so much fun. Like, someone needs to pick this up. And so I texted Ryan Blaney, and I'm like, hey, Blaney. I said, bro, Tony's not doing his Halloween party this year. Someone's got to do it. He's like, really? Dang. I said, you should do it. He's like, all right. So Ryan
trying to be the influence.
Yeah. So Ryan does the Halloween party. The first year is at his house in dang, what's up? It's like Mooresville, like way north of Mooresville, out in the middle of nowhere.
Denver?
Nope.
Cheryl's Ford?
Nope. Where's Dale's property? Juniors.
My God, I don't know the exact
location. I always forget with this stuff. But anyway,
I was only there once, and it was to do a shoot for a commercial.
Anyway, it's way up there in the sticks, right? Like 45 minutes away from Charlotte. But it's great for a party. So we do that one, and we didn't really prepare as well as we should have. We like moved couches out of the way last minute for like the floor was like at the morning because all the drinks that were spilled. But it was like a slate floor, so it wasn't too bad. The cleanup was miserable. I was hurt. Everyone was hurt. Great party. Second year of the RB party, we take it to Whiskey River. And I'm like, all right, man, what are you going to do for Halloween this year? Like, he's like, I'm going to be Beast. He's like, you should be Belle. I'm like, I'm not going to be Belle. I go, if you pay for it, well, not thinking about it, right? Like, he's got plenty of money to pay for a dumb costume like that. Like, a lot of my other friends would be like, I'm not spending $100 on that. He did. So I had to be Belle. All walking around. I mean,
as his Beast.
He's the Beast. I'm Belle. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was up on the stage at Whiskey River, and I owned the night in heels.
In heels again.
You're
getting pretty good at walking around in them.
I mean, I'm pretty decent at it. Whatever brought down the house though. Definitely won. Daniel Suarez was alfalfa that year. He had the
with the hair sticking out.
He killed it. He looked great.
That's so funny. Yeah. You know, it's so funny that you mentioned like all these guys. Is that these are, well, actually you were there too. These are all the guys that we essentially came up with in the K&N division.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like, look at all the ones that are in Cup now. I mean, Blaney, Bubba, Corey LaJoy, Larson, Suarez, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick for a short period.
I mean, you get Brett Moffitt too,
DiBenedetto.
You got to give credit to Coleman Presley because Coleman's one of the best spotters in the game now.
He should be driving.
Oh yeah.
Coleman is talented. He's super talented.
He basically drove that ARCA car. Drove an IRP from the spotter stand.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at all those names though that, you know, it's so funny sitting back working with them as the media and interviewing them so young, and now, you know, seeing where they're at and how they've risen in their career.
I mean, me and Corey, we've talked about it a couple times. You know, you talk about them, but also like Skip, you know, Ryan Flores, Cliff Daniels, Tiff Daniels, Too Tall Medill, Brandon McReynolds. There's so many, Bronson Butcher, Tyler Trosper. There's so many people that we grew up with. Like, our group of people, for whatever reason, there's just a bunch of racers in this like 5-year range.
Right.
And they all were friends, and they all figured out how to make it, you know, in their own respects in the sport and help move it forward. You know what I mean? It's really cool. Larson, you know what I mean? It's just like really cool to be a part of that group, because it's coming up like, you know, we're going to have to start taking the leadership here before too long. If, you know, the torch is going to get passed eventually. So
their guys are having kids now.
Right.
I mean, you know?
I mean, it's like, so, you know, I'm proud of them.
You know, one of the things that I've always been proud of is the fact that I was there in the K&N Pro Series during those years, you know, and got to see those things. And I always would brag to tell people, that Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Bowman, all these guys, they're all big NASCAR names now, but when they won their first NASCAR race, they talked to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
There were a lot of first timers I interviewed for their first win. Both the Dylans.
Yeah.
I can go right down the list. Larson, Corey, Brandon McReynolds, Chase Elliott.
It's so wild.
I interviewed them for their first NASCAR win, so it's cool to have that bragging right. It's cool to see how far they've come up through the ranks now. I gotta get a couple of them on the show here. That'd be
you got to man.
Talk about the old K&N days, right,
dude? I mean, I'm trying to. It's hard to get them boys together as a group, but individually it is. I'm trying to get them all together so we can. A couple years ago, I did because I needed, for that Racing Fan Zone show, I needed a couple breaks. I was running 3 hours straight talking to people. I needed to get some breaks in there. And so I had to come up with my own breaks. So I created this thing called Hot Laps. So it was rock, paper, scissors, and then there was some hot sauce that you had to eat. There was 12 levels. So we did that, which was hilarious. But we also did
that with Brandon.
I did it with McReynolds and then Kim Kuhn too. So great. And then we did this thing called True Talk. So everybody was drinking some Trulies, got them a little sauced up, and then we started telling stories about, it was me, McReynolds, Flores, and then both LaJoy's, Casey and Corey. Mm-hmm. And the stories that they were telling were so funny. So funny. Like Corey knocking down the fence at Motordrome lap 1, and the whole ride home, his old man was just cussing him out. Tire management.
I know.
And then Corey and Brandon wrecked each other at like Concord one day, and Brandon was staying the night at Corey's house that night, and they just like both destroyed their late models together.
I know. I remember it was Corey, Brandon, and Bubba at Dover one time, and all three of them were racing, and Corey had lost his bumper cover, and he was trying to get it to fall off, and he couldn't, and someone had knocked into him and got it off, but then he and Brandon were racing tight, and everyone was pissed off at each other after the race.
That was literally one of the most entertaining races all time, because you had Corey running for a championship, Brandon McReynolds
doing like one or two off, right?
A one-off.
But fast, right?
At Dover, it's a big race, right? Dover for the K&N cars is like the biggest thing. You had Bubba, who's just trying to get another win because he was out of the points at this point, having a terrible year. Larson, I was working on Larson's car, and we were like 6 or something, and so we were battling with LaJoy for the championship and Moffitt. Moffitt and LaJoy get into it in turn 1. Moffitt spins off down the bottom. Caution doesn't come out. We keep going. Okay, Brandon McReynolds makes a run at Corey, running second, and LaJoy's leading the race, and Wallace, Bubba is third. Corey pinches Brandon in the fence. Mm-hmm. Well, his nose was up to his quarter, so it ripped the bumper cover off. So to your point, it's flapping around. Well, caution comes out for whatever happens. Brandon's right side is pancaked. Well, the guard that's about to get the wave around was Brandon Godovic. As Corey's trying to... And whatever they used for rivets on that thing was not letting go. It was holding on for all it was worth.
I remember, I was there.
Here comes Godovic and knocks the bumper cover off for him. We went on a caution for like 5 laps. They should have got black flagged. And if he got black flagged, like for us in the championship, we were like, we only had 2 races after that. Like, we were going to be really good.
I know.
But he ended up winning the race anyway.
It was something. Yeah, Bubba was so mad. He was like, "That's the greatest thing I ever seen." And that was like the last comment that he made. He talked about the race, then I touched that, and he goes, "Whatever. That was the greatest thing I ever saw."
Dude, it was. Man, I wish we could go back and like sit him down and go through that. That'd be so cool.
What? What a great idea! Because a couple of weeks later, remember at Rockingham,
yep.
It was. Corey Moffitt, Larson,
yep.
but they were all racing for the championship because the points had tightened up because Corey had gotten disqualified
at Dover for he got disqualified at Dover for a carburetor
thing. Yeah, and we had Randy on last week. He was telling us the story about that. Oh, he was so pissed.
He's still probably mad.
He's still
mad about it.
I could see it in his face when he's telling the story. Oh, he was still stewing over it.
So they got DQ'd.
Yeah.
We go to Greenville. Corey and Moffitt are racing hard for the win at Greenville. Corey gives him a bump and run.
Mm-hmm.
Moffitt stayed in the gas, trying to stay with it, and ended up coming down the track, and him and Bubba spin, and it's a
huge wreck coming to the
checker flag. Like, Brett got walloped by Sam Hunt, who's now an Xfinity owner, and so then we go into Rockingham, and Moffitt is about to win the championship. Last lap, he needs to hold off Reddick for the win. We're sixth at the time.
Right. They had to have a car between them for him to win.
It was like we were about to lose the championship by 1 point. The points docked by NASCAR had Corey on the outside looking in. Like, I think he was like 15 down or something. Moffitt, and this is the biggest field, right? So if you mess up, like, it matters, like, because it's Rockingham.
It was like 38 cars or something.
Dude,
like that.
massive. They come off a 2, and Moffitt did what he had to do. He pinched Reddick, but Reddick didn't lift. And no one knows who Reddick is at this point, mind you.
Right. He still had long hair, the mullet, and everything. Yeah.
He's driving for Ken Schrader's team, which Ken Schrader's team doesn't race K&N. They race ARCA.
Right.
Like, no, and he's driving this 98, and no one knows who this kid is. It's all about Corey LaJoie, Brett Moffitt, and Kyle Larson. Reddick ends up getting into him, dumps him down the backstretch, and we go by, and that was the championship.
I know. I was there for it. It was an interesting day. That was for sure. There were some people that were mad. There were some people that were happy. But I remember, I think it was 4 guys came mathematically into it with a shot at it. That was quite possibly one of the most memorable K&N races that I had been a part of.
That was 2012. In 2012, if you look at it, was probably one of the best from a point standpoint, because the things you were talking about was the Cup season, because Tony was making that big run at Carl, and they were going at it, and then the K&N.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. I don't remember the trucks or the Xfinity. I remember Cup and K&N.
It's just amazing how all of it worked out, and now where everyone is at. But
doing great.
Coming from your roots, though, coming from Maine. Now, Vermont. I'm sorry,
maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Now, you also came from. Well, you were able to see actually both ends of issues, I should say, or things that are going on now, because you have adopted parents and you have your biological parents, right? Your adopted parents are white, your biological parents are black. So, what was that like growing up? You know, up in Maine of all places, and then also going racing at a local track.
So growing up, it was fine. I love my parents. My parents are the best people in the entire world. My adoption was open, so I always had dialogue and conversation with my mother and my aunt and my grandparents.
Biological,
yeah. Okay. So with those 4, and then so it was open. So that I'm very lucky to have that. Right? There's very much a nature versus nurture situation, and when you're adopted, or you just don't know like your entire background, like you're like, okay, my parents, my mom does this, so that's why I like this. My dad is a carpenter, so that's why I'm good at working. But when you don't know where something comes from, that's where it gets tough. Like, why do I think this way? My parents don't think this way. They don't like this, but I like this.
It's a lot of who am I?
So you're always trying to like bridge those pieces together to figure yourself out. And like when I was like 6 or 7, my parents always used to do Mr. and Mrs. Claus in our hometown and do the parade and everything. And when I was younger, I'd be an elf and be in the parade and have fun and throw candy or whatever. And I told them when I was like 6 or 7, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And they're like, well, why? And I was like, because the thing was they're like, don't tell your friends that we're Mr. and Mrs. Claus. We're helping Santa out. That was always like the thing. Like, Santa can't be everywhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, as a kid, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So they're helping out. And I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. And they're like, well, why? I'm like, because I look different, and everyone will know who you are if I'm on the parade with you. So at 7 years old, I was becoming very aware that I was different than everybody else. And at one point, I remember telling my parents that I wish I looked like them. Like, I was like, I wish I was white. I wish I looked like you guys. And I can't imagine how hard that was for them. But they always made me feel like everything about me was a gift. always said that you're a gift, like you're a gift to us, like we love, like, and then I got to know my biological family more, and they confirmed that. They confirmed all the questions that I had. They were able to plug those holes and help me become more.
Was it a period where you didn't know your biological family, or did you know them from your single digits?
I knew them from I met them my first time when I was like 9.
Oh, okay.
Right, but I knew of them the whole time. Like, they would send pictures and stuff, but I didn't meet them until I was like 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And they always sent Christmas presents, birthday presents. They always knew what my grades were. I didn't know that they knew all those things, right? Mm-hmm. But they were always a part of it. They came to my graduation, which was super cool. And they it's like when we're together, it's like I've been with them my entire life. And they speak fluent Creole. So they're straight from like Haiti. Like, my grandparents are from the island. My mother and my aunt were born here, but they speak Creole. So I don't. But oddly enough, I can keep track of the conversation and what they're talking about without knowing anything.
Really?
I don't know how. There's just somehow I'm able to track the conversation and stay connected with what they're saying. I don't know exactly what they're saying, but if they're talking about somebody, like, I know that they're talking about this person and da da da. So
what do they think of the racing? You doing this?
They think it's cool, but their thing was like, I think for a little while they weren't sure because they wanted me to have an education. Like, education was important because that's something that, like, my grandpa couldn't have. And also, my grandparents and my parents, they alter in age. Like my grandfather's the oldest, and then my dad's next, and then my grandmother, and then my mother, so and my mom. And so, like, them four are all in their 60s to 70s. My mother is only 14 years older than me, and my aunt's only 12 years older than me. So they're like big sisters.
Oh, so your mom had you when she was young?
Yeah, very young.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like, it's like it's a very different dynamic, but it's really cool. They wanted me to have a great education, and because it's something that, being from where they're from on the island, it wasn't necessarily something that was easily accessible, having a great education like that. But school was never my thing. Mm-hmm. It was never my thing. It was sports. Mm-hmm. It was always sports. And then it became racing. And they were never not supportive. They didn't know, but they didn't know. And they still don't really know what exactly all of it is. But they know that my life is well. I'm taking care of myself. I'm moving forward in my career. And I know that they're proud of that, so that's cool.
Do they get to see you race on TV?
They watch the Indy race. They watched on FS1, so
that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's probably the first time that they've been able to see it. Because when I go-karted, they were never around, and when I late model race, they were never around. So
I got you. So your adopted parents got you into the racing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess they were race fans.
No, well, kind of, but not too much. When I was 4. I went to Thunder Road. A friend of mine was going, and I was like, "Oh, what's that? I want to go." And my dad took me and loved it. And he bought me a go-kart when I was 5 that next year, and we won. And we kept winning and kept winning. Me and my dad won like 90 to 100 go-kart races, like,
really
easily. And we went regional racing, and we went dirt racing a little bit, and we just had a blast doing it. And if my mom knew how much money my dad spent on my racing, they probably would not be married right now.
You build a stronger bond with them too.
Yeah, man. It was awesome.
So for him, that had to be cool to see you get that ARCA ride.
Yeah, probably by the time this comes out, today, there's a special, we call it the Road to Indy. NASCAR did a docu-follow from the whole trip. And my dad went to the Indy race, and they interviewed him. And from what I hear, is there's a good piece of him bawling his eyes out. So
where can we see that?
That'll be on FS1 Race Up tonight. And then it'll be on NASCAR's channels for life.
So you're gonna have a feature on you on Race Up tonight? Huh?
Yeah, a little small part.
God, look at you blowing up, man.
God,
man. I remember you just checking air pressure and all that on the rev cars back in the day. You had the Kid and Play big eraser head fro, and those were some fun years. I had no idea how you put your helmet on with that.
Everybody, I used to tell people would ask, I used to tell them that Simpson was working on a helmet for me to have it. They're like, well, what do you do right now?
Top hat helmet.
Yeah, they're like, well, what do you do right now? I said, well, I said, don't tell NASCAR because it's not approved, but I cut a hole in the top, and when I get in the car, I pop it up, and my hair comes through the top. People believed it. I swear to God. I swear to God, they believed it. They did. They're like, are you kidding me? No, really. I'm like, if you believe it, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, everyone wants me to bring that haircut back, the high top fade, and I'm like, I'm down, but the problem is there's no sex appeal to it. Girls didn't love it. They thought it was cool, but they weren't like, oh, that's a sexy look. So
right.
So I have two rules. Either one, I have to race I have to know that I'm racing 5 or more races a year, and I'll bring it back.
Okay.
Or I have a girlfriend or significant other, and she's already locked in, and then I can do whatever I want because it's too late.
Right. Do you think that the high top fade is in the same category as the mullet? Because who the hell ever thought to bring the mullet back? Dude, I cannot stand mullets. Oh my God, they look so ridiculous.
So
I had one as a kid. Keep it back there in the 90s.
I think it's so funny, right? Because it's so I'm like, people that love mullets, they might hate dreads, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you realize that, like, from a culture standpoint, that's as close as the two get.
Yeah,
right.
It's so, like that is. Yeah, I was gonna say,
I can't grow a mullet,
and I can't grow a high top fade.
You can't grow, right? So it's like culturally, like that's as close as the
same thing.
Like, so why?
That's awesome. That's kind of funny, man.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So you've got that going on. Are you gonna do any more ARCA races?
I don't know. I race once a year.
Okay, well, dude, Young's Motorsports put together a deal for you, right?
Yeah.
That was the deal with them.
Young's and Team Dillon Management, yep.
And Tyler Young's a good guy.
Dude.
He really is.
Dude, he's the best.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. And then AJ helped you with the ride, too.
Yeah.
So that's why you did the color scheme like his Indy car.
Yep.
How was his involvement, or what was his involvement in
So me and AJ, we go way back. I don't even remember where we met, but I know at one point I saw him at a Waffle House in Cornelius after a Saeed's night. So we go pretty far back because that Waffle House is no longer there. So we were talking at Boatyard Eats one night, his bar, and he's like, when are you going to go race again? I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm kind of working on this deal with Team Dillon Management and Young's. We're trying to figure out this ARCA deal. He's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, well, this is what we need total. And he's like, give me that napkin. He writes it down. He writes down a contract on a napkin.
Right.
And I sign it immediately so he can't take it back, and I post it everywhere. So he came on and so
the drunk moment.
Yeah, he came on.
I'm gonna get you now.
Yeah, good. So good deals are made at the bar, but the best deals are made on the golf course. So everyone remember that. Good deals at the bar if you want the greatest.
Or in this
deals,
case, the Waffle House.
The Waffle House, yeah. So we did it. We did it, and then I found some other partners, Elliott's Custom Trails and Carts. They brought a motor coach for me to hang out in during the day, which is super cool. They just launched their new motor coach
You just
line.
cold call these people?
No, well, so Elliott's has been on with me for a while. They've been on for like 3 years. And we had their foundation, the Tony Elliott Foundation. Tony Elliott was a USAC.
Oh yeah, no, I know who Tony Elliott is.
He's
I'm older than you, man.
I know.
Amazing sprint car background.
Yeah.
Come on, I know who Tony Elliott is.
You know who Tony Elliott is. Then we put Mark Mamba and the Mayor podcast on the hood.
That's cool.
So that was cool. So Mark and Jeff being a part of that. Lowline Livery did the scheme, like you said. It was AJ's first champ car win, which was 16 years ago in Portland, and he won this year in Portland in an Xfinity race. So I wanted to do something special for him. I put a couple friends of mine from back home. Their mother lost her battle to cancer. Not lost. That's the bad way to put it. She went the distance with her battle with cancer, and she passed away here recently. So I put her name on the top of the door, knowing for them. And so I always like people back home knowing that I'm always thinking about them. I love where I'm from. So
that's the other thing too that I think is another part of your appeal too, is that your heart's in the right place, but you also you contact those people, you talk to those people or communicate with them, whoever it may be on social or a fan or that kind of stuff. Is that what helped you get like the Mamba and Mayor podcast, of just being having that attitude or being gracious like that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that one came about, because that's NASCAR's podcast.
Right. Look at those names that you're there with.
I know. Mark
Martin and
Jeff Burton, like a Hall of Famer and a going to be Hall of Famer, because Jeff will be there too. Mm-hmm. They picked it. Like, they could have picked anybody, and I think I have relationships with them both. Like, one with Jeff because of Harrison. Like, I was around their shop and around them when Harrison started.
You were with MDM, right?
Well, yeah. So with the Canon and Arca stuff, I was doing like social media and stuff for Harrison. But even before that, when Harrison was like 12 and 13, Brandon McReynolds was my roommate, and he was a crew chief for Harrison's late model. So I was always around him then. And Jeff came to Stewart Haas when Tony got hurt, and I think he ran one race for us, or he tested for us somewhere in the 14. And then Mark, that same year too, Mark drove one or two races for us. I think he drove at Atlanta in the 14 too. So, and maybe Loudon. So I knew those guys, Jeff more so than Mark, but me and Mark have always been cool. So now I get to chop it up with them every other Monday. So it's really awesome.
That's got to be cool working with someone like Mark Martin, because just reading his Twitter posts and the things that he posts on Twitter, like, he'll look at an old photo from one of his ASA cars back in the day, and he'll know what bar was in it, what springs were in it, what they were running for tire pressure. Like, it just amazes me.
He just crew chief Daniel Dye at the Montana 200 like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Like, he's still on it. Like, he has it bad. He disappeared for a while, but God Almighty, I'm glad he's back, and to be able to work with him is great. And I'll tell you one story that he told us on the show. I said to him, we were talking about Reddick moving on to 2311 in 2024 or whatever, right? And he had a similar situation with Casey Kane at Hendrick. He was in the 5. Casey was coming.
That's
Casey ran the Red Bull car for a year. Mark was like, probably in retrospect, I probably should have ran the 4 car, the Red Bull car, and Casey should have just came into it, and it would have been fine. But I go to him. I said,
but he wanted to drive. He wanted to try driving for Hendrick.
Yeah, he wanted to drive for Hendrick. Yeah. So he goes. I go, Mark, you in a Red Bull car. I don't think at that age you really needed all that Red Bull that you would have had to drink. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I also didn't need all that Viagra on the other deal either. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's great. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but I get to ask them about, like, what was Dale Sr. like? What was Davey Allison like? Right. What was DW like back in? I get to ask them because they were there and raced with these guys. Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite parts, because these are names that people don't know.
Well, and the stories that they have too is got to be amazing as well. I mean, wild. I sit down with someone here and we will have an hour and a half go by and not even realize it. It's just quick. Yeah, and you haven't even scratched the surface of the stories that you want to tell. What are some of the fun stories that you've encountered in the last couple of years?
So I also work for the Ferrari Challenge Series. Mm-hmm. I do paddock operations for them and hospitality and stuff for them. I also MC for Dodge. So I got to go outside.
You have all these gigs going on, man. Yeah. How do you have time?
They just kind of line up pretty decently, and I just say yes. I don't say no to opportunity. I just keep saying yes because I'm dumb, and I have nothing holding me here. Like, my dog is with my parents. So, and like I say, I'm single, and I'm like, I want to make money. So how we got to make money? We got to say yes to opportunity. So for the NHRA tour, I got to go do that for a couple years. I ended up running that tour for Dodge and Mopar for a little while. So I got really close with, like Leah Stewart now, Matt Hagan, Ron Capps, Cruz Petragon, Antron Brown, like a lot of those folks. And the coolest thing I think I realized from all of it is motorsports. Like, so now I've been in NASCAR, I've been in the Ferrari, sports car paddock, and I've been, in the drag racing deal and a little bit of like dirt racing. The people are all the same. motorsports is motorsports. The people are all the same. Like they're all racers. They all want to race. They just do it in different cars, but like the more we're different, it's actually crazy more the same that we are. Like the way you build a car, the things you look at, it all comes down to a lot of the same stuff. Like NHRA guys, they're road dogs. I mean, they jump in the Durango and they go to the next track. They don't fly. Like, and if you don't have a CDL, that you might not be able to work on that team because there's like 3 trucks that need to go down the road.
Right.
Like, because they have the hospitality deal and stuff. So, just being around them and it's been so much fun. I got to be a part of the Meekum and Barrett Jackson tour with Dodge too. We drift Hellcats in the parking lot for people for free. Like,
you get in and drift them, huh?
I don't drift them.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the mic.
I did see one video where somebody was doing donuts and you were standing at the bumper just spinning with him as he was spinning the car.
So
that's gotta get scary though, right?
Not really. I mean,
No?
I trust him, and I know I'm fast enough to get out of the way if I need to.
Okay.
But no shit. Like when they let me on the mic, I just realized that I'm gonna hype this up. This needs to be more. So, the people, they have their phones out, and some people are like, "Give me your phone." I'll take their phone, I'll go out to the front, to the middle, and when they come through, I'll get the phone. As they're drifting by me, I'll get the phone right up in there for them. I've kissed the hood of the car as they're drifting around me. Like, stuff that, like, probably should not have done from an insurance perspective, but, you know, we're entertainment value. One time we called it a smoke show, Saturday smoke show. So like, I was pushing these guys to the limits. I came up with a couple games for them to do. They had to drift through like small, tight areas. They had to give their best burnouts, all this stuff. Well, we just changed the tires on this Charger, and so like he had to warm it up, like get the glaze off of him. I said, all right, man, here's what we're gonna do, because we're behind. I'm gonna ride out with you with the mic to get these people hyped up, and you make a couple laps around the circle. He comes through, and I start yelling on the mic, "Are you ready?" And I come out through the sunroof, and I'm out top of the sunroof just trying to hype the people up on the mic. It was probably one of my most fun moments I've ever had in my life. The smoke is bellowing out everywhere.
What is it that you enjoy the most doing? I mean, obviously driving's high up there, but besides the driving, what is it that you enjoy the most?
So I enjoy helping people reach their potential, like whatever it is that they like to do.
Okay.
Whatever it is. Mm-hmm. My favorite, because you got to think, like for me, I'm literally on like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th career maybe. Like I'm done with I'm not done driving, but like as far as, you know, trying to make it a cup, like that's not realistic anymore. So like I would love to just be able to race short track whenever I want to. So that career, we've done that. We've raced full time before. Did that. Been a mechanic. Done that. We've been pit road. Done some of the pit road stuff. Done some behind the scenes of the camera stuff, like production stuff. Done that. Went on tour with the events. Done that. Like I was training nurses for a little while.
Nurses?
Yeah. I was training nurses for a little while.
To do what?
To save your life, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What were you training them to do?
Like, so we had to simulate. I was running simulation, and there's a simulator, like a mannequin on the bed, and it gives you, you know, pulse, and you can do blood and do different medicines, and like there's pads in the arm. So like you put the needle in this arm or you put it in this leg to simulate whatever's going on. And these patients would have like heart attacks, maybe they have cancer, maybe maybe they're having trouble breathing. I learned a lot of medical terms I never would have known of before.
So you trained nurses?
Yeah.
Like, were you working in the medical field, or was this giving them like field work if something happens at the track?
No. In the medical, like at hospitals. So there'd be a nurse that was like doing the training, and I was running the simulation behind this computer. I was running the mannequin, and then I would act as the mannequin. So they'd be like, "Can you feel this?" I'd be like, "Yes." And they'd be like, "Have you had anything to eat today?" And depending on the patient, it was like, "Yes, I ate such and such," or "No, such and such." And yeah, and that was pretty fun.
When
that
did
was
you do that? Was that before?
When did COVID start?
2020.
So 2020, I started doing it.
Really?
I did that for like a year or two.
Holy cow! What a huge like what a huge juxtaposition between racing and the medical field. You went from race cars to hospitals.
Yeah, that was really cool because I felt like that was like the first time I felt like I was doing something that had a bigger purpose, right? Okay. Making sure that you're doing everything right to help train these nurses to be the best that they can be so they can go do their job when they get to the floor in the hospital and working on these people. Like being a very, very small part of that process was actually super rewarding. I felt really cool being able to do that.
You know, I really think that it's cool that, you know, when I asked you what the favorite part of your job was, it wasn't like you didn't say doing TV or doing a podcast or driving a race car. It was helping people reach their potential. I think that's really noble and honorable, a cool thing for you.
It's people, man.
You know, and it's one of the things why I kind of gravitate towards your respect for what you do, because you have that ability to deal with adversity, you know, better than some other people do out there, or deal with the trials and tribulations of what's going on in your life. When I was going through all the stuff with during COVID with my family, you know, I lost family members. I lost, you know, my job. I'm not the modified reporter anymore. So like, you know, when all of that stuff was going on, I'm sitting there going, God, you know, what's happening? And then you would pop up with some of your videos, and I'm like, man, this kid, he's figuring it out, or he's dealing with it way better than I am. I'm like, I was impressed, and you know, I had a lot of respect for that.
So that's a lot of that's the Mamba part. That's the Kobe Bryant part. Like Kobe Bryant is somebody that I look up to and inspire to be like. I knew that I couldn't be like him on the basketball court. I was never going to be that, but I can take the things that he was and implement them in my life, right? Like his whole thing is like people, helping people, inspiring people to be better, making himself better, making the people around him better, his team better. It's all about that. And something that I really learned along that journey of just like studying who Kobe is you got to embrace the suck. Like things are gonna suck. Every time you get through something that sucks, that's just another tool and another skill that you can put in your toolbox. That you don't know when you're gonna need it. You don't know if you're gonna need it again, but it's there.
Right.
And when things get rough for me or something goes wrong, I love it because it's a challenge, but I know that I know already that I'm gonna get through this because I've got through everything up to this point. This ain't gonna stop me now either, but I'm gonna gain so much more through this experience. Like it sucks, but like I know once I get to the other side, I'll be able to look back and be like, I gained this, this, and this from that. If everything was great all the time,
and it's something you may use in the future,
right?
Yeah, I get that.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I don't want things to suck. I'd rather things go smoothly, but when they don't, I kind of get excited for the challenge.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we got to wrap it up. We're getting close to the end of the show.
Yes, sir.
Believe it or not, it's amazing how fast the time goes by.
It takes no time.
But before we go though, I hope you do realize how much of a trailblazer you are becoming, because
Thank you, man.
you know, like obviously, you know, guys like Willie T. Ribbs and Wendell Scott and Bubba, you know, all those guys drove. I mean, you drove a little bit, but you are also making your mark in other ways too, where people are seeing you and you're out there and you are becoming a role model to other, you know, young kids that are from other cultures that want to be like you, and you're showing them that they can do it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. It's great from that perspective, and also just like people that want to just work hard. Like I've got here by just working hard. Like I just keep working and don't let it's been, like I said, sometimes where it really sucked, but like I earned those stripes and then I earned that respect. And I appreciate that. At the end of this whole journey for me, if you ask me where I want to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I want to be in there not as a driver. I don't know what that looks like, but I know if I keep putting in the work and trying to move the industry forward and keep doing what I'm doing right now, then it'll show itself what it is. We'll get there.
Time, you get that with time. I definitely noticed too. Yeah, it definitely. Well, we had a lot of fun with you today. I hope you had fun too.
I had a blast.
Did you? It's great, right?
No,
we just sit
I love
down
doing
and we
these.
chill.
I love doing these. These are great.
Awesome. Well, definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. Would you come back and do it again?
Anytime, man. Just let me know. Anytime.
Awesome. Very cool. Mamba Smith joins us on the Derek Pernesiglio Show for this episode. Want to thank you all for joining in. And as always, we'll see you the next time. Bye.